place à la première session intitulée « Mutations socio-économiques et remodelage du marché du travail ». La session sera modérée par Prof. Riviu Nezaza, directeur du département culture Université Sengor. Dr Riviu Nezaza, nous vous laissons la parole.
Merci beaucoup, Céloane, pour la parole. Bonjour à tout le monde. Monsieur l'ambassadeur, messieurs les professeurs, monsieur le recteur, madame la chef de la section des bibliothèques de la BA, distingués invités, mesdames et messieurs, chères étudiantes, chers étudiants. Nous en sommes là à notre forum, donc la première session de ce forum qui est organisée en marge des journées entreprises qui ont eu lieu du 18 au 19 décembre à l'Université Sengor. Donc, notre forum international est intitulé « Les futurs appartiennent à l'Afrique, concevoir la voie de l'avenir, nouvelles frontières de l'éducation ». Et comme cela a été signalé, notre première session porte sur le thème « Mutations socio-économiques et remodélage du marché du travail ». Pour cela, nous avons 5 éminentes personnalités qui vont essayer de partager avec nous en quoi les mutations ou les transformations que notre monde connaît actuellement refaçonnent ou façonnent le marché de l'emploi, quelles sont les nouvelles dynamiques, à quoi s'attendre, de quelle manière s'y préparer. Thank you very much for attending our international forum on the theme The Future Belongs to Africa, Designing the Way, New Frontiers of Education. And our first session is titled Socio-Economic Change and Reshaping the Labor Market. And we have 5 distinguished speakers around the table. First of all, we have Mr. Didier Akwete, President of AfriSearch, who will be speaking on the earned benefit of educational investment. It will be followed.
Merci, bonjour.
Yes, it will be followed by Professor Hani Mustafa, professor at the École de Technologie Supérieure at Canada, on Beyond Industry 4.0 and 5.0 towards a smart digital green society. And we have also Dr. Hichem Abdelghafar on unleashing the potential of Africa's youth and turning job seekers into sustainable job creators.
Bonjour.
And then we'll have Marwan Abdin, CEO of ACG, on the future of work, the rise of dynamic workforces, and the power of individual choice. And the last speaker will be Akram Marwan on the 10 trending jobs in Egypt. Donc, Monsieur Didier Akwete, président d'AfriSearch, sur les bénéfices de l'investissement dans l'éducation supérieure, dans l'enseignement supérieur, qui sera suivi par le professeur Hani Mustafa sur l'implication de la 4e de la 5e révolution industrielle sur l'avenir du travail. Le 3e intervenant sera Dr. Hichem Abdelghafar sur libérer le potentiel de la jeunesse africaine et transformer les demandeurs d'emploi en créateurs d'emplois durables. L'avant-dernier intervenant sera Marwan Abdin sur l'avenir du travail, l'essor des effets dynamiques et le pouvoir des choix individuels. Et le dernier intervenant, Akram Marwan, sur les 10 emplois émergents en Égypte. Sans plus tarder, je vais convier amicalement, mais aussi respectueusement, M. Didier Akwete pour son intervention. Pendant qu'il s'avance vers la tribune, je vais le présenter. Didier Akwete est président fondateur du groupe AfriSearch depuis 1996. C'est la première entreprise internationale de consultation, recrutement et ressources humaines spécialisée au niveau de l'Afrique. Avec son associé Alexander Hugh, une entreprise internationale de recherche exécutive, le groupe AfriSearch Alexander Hugh est présent dans plus de 50 pays. En tant que conseiller d'affaires auprès de plusieurs grandes entreprises et gouvernements africains, Didier Akwete a construit un vaste réseau de contacts dans la communauté des affaires et de la politique africaine. Il fait partie de plusieurs conseils d'administration afin de continuer à former des entreprises championnes sur le continent. Et lui-même, il est récipiendaire du prix de l'entrepreneur africain en 2014. Et au cours de la même année, il a institué le premier forum de financement des PME africaines en partenariat avec plusieurs institutions, dont African Guarantee Fund, la Société financière internationale, la Banque africaine de développement et Afreximbank, que nous connaissons, qui est basée ici au Caire. Donc, M. Didier Akouete, je vous accorde la parole pour votre intervention. Et je rappelle l'intervention durera 10 à 15 minutes et à l'issue de l'intervention, nous aurons une courte session de questions-réponses avant de passer au second intervenant. Donc, tout le monde veillera à être bref et à respecter le temps. Voilà, il y a un point aussi à mentionner au crédit de M. Didier Akouete. Il est membre du conseil d'administration de l'université Sengor.
Merci. Merci beaucoup, monsieur le modérateur. Merci, monsieur le recteur, et à toute l'équipe de l'université pour cette première. C'est une première, effectivement, qui semble être une belle réussite. Et honoré d'être parmi vous et de démarrer ce panel avec ce sujet important qui nous tient tous à cœur, qui est quand même l'éducation. Le thème qui m'a été suggéré, c'est les bénéfices de l'éducation sur le développement de manière générale, mais sur la croissance. Donc j'ai mis quelques slides pour commenter un petit peu, pour soutenir mes propos. Et l'idée, en fait, est très simple. Si vous voulez, quand on parle de développement, on doit systématiquement l'associer au capital humain. Et c'est vrai que vous savez qu'avant, on parlait de ressources humaines. Dans les entreprises, on parlait d'administration du personnel. Et maintenant, on parle de développement du capital humain. Donc, ça veut dire que les ressources humaines, c'est un capital, aussi bien que le capital financier. Mais on parle le capital financier. Si on n'a pas le capital humain, il n'y a pas de développement ni de croissance. Et donc, aujourd'hui, tout le monde s'accorde sur le fait que le capital humain est la clé de transformation. Et c'est vrai qu'on regardera dans quelques slides les trajectoires des pays ou des continents. Quand on parle des pays asiatiques, vous savez, on parlait des dragons d'Asie qui rêvaient de ressembler à l'Afrique. Et quand on regardait les trajectoires du Ghana et de la Côte d'Ivoire par rapport à Singapour et la Corée, il n'y a pas de rapport. Aujourd'hui, quand on voit le développement de ces deux nations, on a bien vu qu'il y a une différenciation importante qui a été faite à partir, bien sûr, d'une vision, d'une construction économique, mais surtout d'un investissement massif sur le capital humain. Donc, j'ai à faire la démonstration que l'éducation a des bienfaits, c'est presque une tautologie, quoi. L'éducation, c'est la clé. L'éducation supérieure est encore une des clés, comme le mentionnait d'ailleurs le professeur Bakri qui nous a fait le keynote tout à l'heure. Donc, on ne va pas enfoncer des portes ouvertes, comme on dit. Mais on va essayer de regarder quand même quelques réalités qui doivent nous convaincre définitivement qu'il faut qu'on investisse encore plus dans l'éducation, mais encore plus dans l'éducation supérieure. Le paradoxe, c'est qu'on parle souvent de développement et de croissance. Vous savez, et ces dernières années, on a beaucoup parlé de croissance économique en Afrique. Et on parlait de croissance à 2 chiffres. Le fameux narratif du Africa Rising, vous savez, ces 15 dernières années, soutenu par les taux de croissance à 2 chiffres des pays, était une réalité. Sauf qu'on a fait de la croissance économique, mais on n'a pas fait de développement économique. Et de la même manière, quand on fait de la formation, on peut faire de la formation, scolariser les enfants, mais si ce n'est pas une éducation de qualité, une formation de qualité, on ne peut pas générer du développement. C'est pour ça qu'on voit ces paradoxes dans nos pays. On voit des pays qui croissent très vite, dont le PIB augmente, mais encore autant de pauvres, encore plus de pauvres qu'avant. Donc, on fait de la croissance, on ne fait pas de développement. Et donc, quand on ramène ça à la question de l'éducation, de la formation supérieure, on a vu que les pays en Afrique ont fait beaucoup d'efforts quand même ces 20 dernières années. Les budgets des États ont été extrêmement incitatifs pour réduire d'abord le gap d'enfants qui n'allaient pas à l'école, d'abord, et ensuite qui sortaient très tôt de l'école, et on va le voir, qui sortent encore plus tôt de l'école aujourd'hui qu'avant, mais il n'empêche, on n'arrive pas à faire des transformations radicales parce que, malheureusement, on est en retard non seulement la qualité, mais le niveau d'éducation. Et ce graphique que vous voyez le démontre bien. Vous regardez le niveau d'études, dont la durée des études, et la croissance économique. Et vous regardez que les pays qui sont en bas de notre courbe, en tout cas de notre droite, montrent bien que les pays où le niveau d'études est le plus faible font le moins de croissance, en réalité. Et même quand on fait de la croissance, qui est un élément des économistes qui finalement n'est pas un si bon critère que ça pour mesurer le développement des pays, on voit bien que ce schéma résume parfaitement les distorsions entre le discours sur la croissance et la réalité du développement économique. Donc, j'ai gardé ce slide pour nous montrer effectivement qu'on voit bien que beaucoup de pays en Afrique, même si beaucoup d'efforts sont faits, on est encore très loin. Et donc, c'est le paradoxe que je suis en introduction, la croissance et le développement. Mais une fois qu'on a dit ça, effectivement, quand on investit dans l'éducation, on a des bienfaits, puisque c'est ça la thématique. Il y a un économiste minceur qui donne un chiffre intéressant, qui dit en fait, quand vous gagnez une année d'études, vous gagnez 5 à 10% de productivité. Et c'est documenté, bon, il n'est plus, minceur n'est plus de ce monde, mais c'est documenté. Et deuxième élément, c'est que plus vous progressez dans les niveaux de formation, plus votre capacité à innover augmente d'autant plus. Et on va le voir tout à l'heure sur un des tableaux que j'espère avoir mis dans les slides. Nous sommes dans ce paradoxe où aujourd'hui, quand vous avez une centaine d'enfants qui arrivent à l'école primaire en Afrique, aujourd'hui, vous en retrouverez une cinquantaine en fait, quand vous irez au collège. Et quand vous arriverez au lycée, vous en trouverez peut-être 25, peut-être 20. Et quand vous arrivez à l'université, vous en retrouvez moins de 10. Et quand vous allez dans les seconds cycles universitaires, vous en trouvez entre 3 et 5, voire 7 selon les pays. Donc il y a une déperdition incroyable lorsqu'on progresse dans le système éducatif sur le continent. Et vous voyez bien que la réalité, malheureusement, ou en tout cas pour l'instant le niveau de développement du continent, est bien le reflet de cet échec des systèmes éducatifs. On arrive à scolariser, on monte un peu, mais plus on monte, moins on trouve des Africains qui sont bien formés ou formés. Et j'aimais bien, encore ce matin, une des démonstrations du professeur Bakri. Vous pouvez aller dans les cycles supérieurs, certes, et je dis à 5 à 7%, voire 8%. Mais dans ces cycles supérieurs, si vous ne dédiez pas suffisamment de ressources à la recherche et à l'innovation, vous ne serez jamais compétitif, finalement. Et l'autre élément des économistes est que lorsqu'on est dans les cycles collège-lycée, on développe des capacités de mimétisme, d'apprentissage. C'est-à-dire, si vous avez fait le collège ou le lycée, dans une entreprise, vous allez pouvoir faire des choses qu'on vous apprend à faire, pas de problème. Mais pour innover, c'est lorsque vous arrivez dans les cycles supérieurs, notamment ce que vous faites à Singor, qu'on développe des capacités d'innovation et donc on va retrouver les centres de recherche dont parle le professeur Bakri ce matin pour arriver justement à créer des innovations, à faire des ruptures technologiques et donc à accélérer son développement et sa croissance. Et on le voit aujourd'hui plus que jamais, l'innovation est au cœur de tout ce qu'on fait. Les téléphones portables avec lesquels on s'amuse, on apprend aussi avec. Les ordinateurs qui sont plus des ordinateurs, mais qui sont, je dirais, des bureaux volants, ce qu'on fait avec un ordinateur, une tablette aujourd'hui, ça n'existait pas il y a 20 ans. Donc l'innovation est vraiment le maître mot de toutes les transformations économiques et de tous les processus de croissance. Et donc aujourd'hui, nous sommes un peu dans les cycles inversés, même si nous faisons beaucoup d'efforts. Alors, une fois qu'on a dit ça, effectivement, il n'y a que des bienfaits, a priori, dans l'éducation et dans l'éducation supérieure. Je ne suis pas en train de dire qu'il nous faut des pyramides inversées, parce que la fameuse armée de généraux, ça ne marche pas non plus. S'il n'y a que des scientifiques, s'il n'y a que des gens qui ont fait des études supérieures, eh ben, ceux qui font tourner les usines, ceux qui font monter les immeubles, même si tout ça, dans la révolution 4.0, il y aura de moins en moins d'ouvriers, mais enfin, c'est un peu utopique de rêver d'une pyramide inversée, où en haut, il n'y a que des gens qui sont des docteurs, alors que dans la pyramide de développement, il faut bien des gens qui ont un niveau bac-3, qui ont un niveau bac, qui ont un niveau bac plus de technique, etc., etc. Et d'ailleurs, un des chiffres intéressants, quand j'étais président de la commission éducation-formation du CIAN, le CIAN, c'est une organisation française qui regroupe les grandes entreprises françaises qui opèrent en Afrique, donc les Total, les Bolloré, les Orange, etc. On avait conduit une étude auprès de 130 grosses entreprises, dans 25 pays à peu près, pour demander aux entreprises, en gros, lorsque vous recherchez des compétences dans vos filiales, lesquelles trouvez-vous facilement et lesquelles avez-vous le plus de mal à trouver? Évidemment, on connaissait la réponse, mais on voulait factualiser la réponse. Effectivement, ce qu'elle disait, c'est que lorsqu'elle cherche des cadres, un directeur marketing, un directeur financier, elles n'ont pas beaucoup de mal, mais lorsqu'elles descendent dans les niveaux techniques, et quand je dis technique, c'est niveau BEP, niveau CAP, niveau Bac Pro, c'est un désert. Et donc c'est un peu utopique de faire du développement si on ne construit pas les compétences dans toutes les strates de la pyramide et non pas que dans les études supérieures. Donc je voulais simplement nuancer mon propos pour ne pas faire penser que je suis en train de dire que seules les études supérieures constituent le Graal et le substrat du développement, mais il en faut parce que c'est un déterminant essentiel de la construction du développement et de la croissance, et donc de l'innovation. Donc les bienfaits, on les trouve à plusieurs niveaux, et ce schéma résume parfaitement ça. On le trouve au niveau social, au niveau économique, au niveau du bien-être, et vous avez, par exemple, les paradoxes, j'en ai parlé. Je voulais vous montrer ce schéma, les 20 métropoles les plus innovantes au monde. Alors regardez, San Francisco, Tokyo, Singapour, Pékin. Je cherchais des pays africains, généralement dans les classements, comme dans les fameux rankings où les universités sud-africaines sont les premières qui apparaissent généralement dans les rankings internationaux. Les 20 métropoles les plus innovantes au monde, pour l'instant, ne comptent pas de pays africains. Sur 54 pays, c'est quand même surprenant. C'est presque choquant. Et ça veut dire effectivement que si on relie ça au système éducatif, au système d'innovation, au système d'attractivité, nous sommes encore très en retard, même si, on le voit, nous avons des Savannah Valley au Kenya, vous allez au Rwanda, vous venez même en Égypte, au Nigeria, nous avons aujourd'hui effectivement ce qu'on appelle des tech nations, des start-up nations, dans ces pays-là, avec des incubateurs, des innovateurs, etc. Mais on est encore très loin du compte. Et je reviens un petit peu en arrière pour souligner les paradoxes que nous devons régler. Vous voyez, le schéma de gauche est intéressant. Évidemment, c'est un peu vieillot, mais si on l'actualisait, on ne serait pas très loin. Regardez l'investissement que nous faisons en fait dans l'éducation dans nos pays. Et c'est vrai, quand vous prenez les indicateurs sociaux des bailleurs de fonds, on montre effectivement que l'Afrique a fait beaucoup d'efforts en matière d'investissement du système éducatif. Mais regardez l'impact sur la productivité, sur le PIB par habitant. L'impact est marginal parce que nous mettons des moyens, Mais à l'arrivée, nous produisons une qualité relative qui n'arrive pas à compétir avec les autres. Et les courbes sont très parlantes entre l'Afrique et l'Asie, ou l'Afrique et l'Asie du Sud-Est de manière générale. Évidemment, quand je dis l'Afrique, on comprend bien qu'il y a des nuances selon les pays, mais dans les tendances générales, on voit bien que le décalage est réel et ça s'est accéléré ces 25-30 dernières années. Et il faut qu'on rattrape ce décalage si on veut créer plus de croissance et plus de développement surtout. Alors ça, c'est un peu inquiétant parce que regardez, quand vous regardez les projections 2030-2040 sur le supérieur, les courbes ne sont pas très bonnes, quoi. Donc, si on dit qu'il y a des bienfaits à former, à bien former et à former dans le supérieur, il faut qu'on corrige cette tendance qui n'est pas très bonne pour le continent. Et quand je dis la compétition, s'il faut qu'on la gagne, il faut qu'on la gagne aussi sur le supérieur et la recherche. Regardez un pays comme la Corée, le pourcentage est 25-34 ans qui vont dans le supérieur. Il n'y a pas de miracle. Ceux qui ont été en Corée, qui ont été à Singapour, même dans une moindre mesure la Malaisie, ou qui vont en Chine, la transformation de la Chine, ces 20 dernières années, ça ne s'est jamais vu nulle part au monde. 400 millions de gens sortis de la pauvreté, même si c'est vrai, la base de la pyramide reste sur des métiers de base, sur des formations de base, on voit bien que la transformation est extrêmement importante. Et aujourd'hui, on voit dans les classements mondiaux les universités chinoises dans les classements mondiaux, dans le ranking. Et il faut qu'on rentre dans ces rankings. Ce n'est pas le Graal, mais c'est important parce que ça montre les efforts qui sont faits en matière de développement. Et peut-être pour finir, parce que je vais quand même laisser de la place pour les questions, comme le disait le modérateur, en réalité, je me disais, finalement, vous voyez, et si l'économie conditionnait en partie les choix éducatifs? Et quand je prends ce schéma qui montre certains secteurs, qui sont des secteurs aujourd'hui qui drivent certaines de nos économies, évidemment, si vous allez en bas, vous regardez que le oil and gas reste un secteur important. Vous allez vers la droite, l'énergie reste un secteur important. Mais ce n'est pas assez. Il y a une carte peut-être que je voulais que je n'ai pas mis malheureusement, qui montre en fait aujourd'hui encore l'état de la structure des économies de nos pays et surtout des matières premières que nous continuons d'exporter massivement et qui nous reviennent transformées. C'est un paradoxe. Et donc, ce graphique-là montre bien que si on veut changer de paradigme et donc passer d'un modèle de croissance à un modèle de développement, il faut aussi renverser complètement la structure des économies. Et cette structure des économies va conditionner, va modifier aussi la structure du système éducatif. Si vous voulez des spécialistes oil and gas, en logistics, en intelligence artificielle aujourd'hui, vous n'en avez pas assez, parce que les universités ne forment pas assez, les écoles ne forment pas assez. Donc, finalement, ce qu'on constate de nos économies, c'est aussi la conséquence des choix éducatifs. Donc, si on veut faire les mutations, les transformations dont le continent a besoin et qu'on va vers des secteurs de production, nous allons aussi forcément influencer nos systèmes éducatifs. Et pour finir, j'ai pris ces deux villes. Alors, à gauche, qui reconnaît la ville de gauche? Comment? J'ai entendu quelque chose. Ouais. Bravo, bravo, avec le théâtre que vous voyez. Et puis, à droite, Abidjan. Sur les photos, c'est génial. Maintenant, regardez la structure de ces deux économies. Bon, ça va prendre du temps. Mais en gros, c'est pour dire qu'effectivement, quand on regarde les beaux immeubles, etc., de nos villes, on dit magnifique, les villes se développent. En fait, les villes ne se développent pas. Quand vous descendez plus bas, vous regardez la structure des économies, vous voyez bien que c'est un effet en trompe-l'œil. et vous regardez la structure de ces deux économies, en fait c'était Singapour, et vous regardez le PIB de ces deux pays, 2019. Bon. Je ne dis pas que c'est tout la richesse, mais quand on parle de la croissance des nations, quand on parle de réduction de la pauvreté, quand on parle de transformation, il faut quand même créer un peu de richesse. Et donc nous sommes encore loin du compte. Et la conclusion, c'est que nous avons plus que jamais besoin d'investir massivement dans les systèmes éducatifs et encore un petit peu plus dans le supérieur si nous voulons rattraper le défi de l'innovation, parce que c'est un monde d'innovation qui va aller de plus en plus vite, et si on loupe le défi de l'innovation, nous risquons de louper le coche des défis de demain. Merci beaucoup.
Merci à vous également, M. Didier Akouete. On a bien compris que les bénéfices de l'investissement dans l'enseignement supérieur sont certains sur le plan social et économique, mais il faudrait vraiment investir surtout plus dans la qualité de l'éducation et voir dans quelle mesure les structures économiques de pays peuvent influencer le modèle du système éducatif au niveau supérieur. Nous allons prendre deux questions adressée à M. Didier Akouete. Vous vous présentez et vous la posez. Veuillez d'être bref. We are going to take just two questions. Be brief, introduce yourself and ask your question. Là-bas.
Lors de votre exposé, je peux dire qu'on était en train de faire en quelque sorte le procès du système éducatif en Afrique. Et on parlait de la question du développement. Mais je vais mettre ça autrement, en disant que, en lieu et place de ce système éducatif, est-ce qu'on ne verrait pas la déconnexion, je vais appeler ça comme ça, qu'il y a entre le contenu éducatif que les universités africaines, de manière générale, ou encore le système éducatif depuis la base primaire, secondaire jusqu'à l'université, mettent à la disposition des Africains, puisqu'à un certain moment, on a le sentiment que ce qui nous est donné ne répond pas clairement aux attentes et aux défis de développement de l'Afrique. Je vais terminer en prenant par exemple votre dernier élément. Quel système éducatif, quel système économique voulons-nous pour le continent? Et quand on regarde cela, on a envie de croire tout est basé sur l'économie, la manufacturation, mais je me pose la question de savoir où est la place donc des sciences sociales à ce niveau-là. Est-ce que les sciences sociales ne seraient pas une réponse adéquate à ce déphasage qu'il y a en termes de développement du continent?
Merci. Alors, bon, réponse courte, puisqu'il y a beaucoup d'intervenants. En fait, la question des docteurs. Alors, si vous formez des doctorants ou des docteurs, évidemment, pour les pays, dans l'absolu, c'est bien. Mais quand c'est relié à des problématiques de développement économique ou de développement social, c'est encore mieux. Et c'est cette déconnexion qu'on reproche un petit peu au système universitaire dans la plupart de nos pays, que la Banque mondiale essaie de corriger un petit peu avec le programme des centres africains d'excellence où je représente le secteur privé, en fait, dans le comité de pilotage. Où on essaie, lorsqu'on finance des universités, c'est des financements de 3 à 10 millions de dollars à peu près. On a des critères qui permettent de financer les universités. Bien sûr, c'est le nombre d'administrateurs qu'ils ont venant du secteur privé, c'est les liens avec le monde professionnel, donc le monde des entreprises, entre ces centres de recherche et le monde des entreprises qui est extrêmement important, bien sûr le nombre de femmes, les sujets de recherche qui sont un tas. Donc, je pense qu'il y a eu cet éloignement en réalité de nos centres de formation et des universités avec le monde de l'entreprise, qui fait que les docteurs, une fois qu'ils arrivent sur le marché, ils sont un peu déconnectés du marché, et c'est un peu dommage parce qu'on en a vraiment besoin dans la plupart des domaines. Alors, la question de monsieur, effectivement, il faut revoir le système éducatif, mais malheureusement, on n'a pas le temps de développer ceci. Les sciences sociales et sciences humaines, bien sûr, c'est important. Quand on dit qu'il nous faut des techniciens, des ingénieurs, bien sûr qu'il faut aussi la discipline des sciences sociales, puisqu'on le voit aujourd'hui, les entreprises, le développement des entreprises aujourd'hui repose en grande partie, bon, on dit le bien-être des employés, quand on va parler de soft skills, travailler ensemble, communiquer, etc. Tout ça, c'est vraiment les sciences sociales qui drivent énormément ce genre de postulat. Donc, les sciences sociales sont importantes, mais il n'y a pas que ça. Et c'est vrai, quand on regarde la plupart des universités, malheureusement aujourd'hui, les matières scientifiques ont été délaissées. Vous avez des pays où vous avez dans les bacheliers, 1% de bacheliers dans les sciences, 2% de bacheliers dans les sciences. Comment voulons-nous transformer le continent s'il y a aussi peu de scientifiques ? Nous sommes dans un monde de sciences. Donc les sciences sociales, c'est important, effectivement. Les sciences techniques, c'est aussi important. Mais sur la question du système éducatif, il y aurait beaucoup à dire et on pourra peut-être dans les autres discussions aborder ce point-là. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Cela nous permet de passer la main au professeur Hani Mostafa, qui est professeur et directeur à l'École de technologie supérieure à Montréal, au Canada. Il est titulaire de la chaire Siemens sur l'intégration des technologies de l'industrie 4.0. Il est le représentant de l'industrie canadienne et membre académique de la technologie aéronautique de l'OTAN depuis 2000. Il est également professeur aux universités McGill et Carleton au Canada et professeur invité à l'université aéronautique Embry-Riddle aux États-Unis. En tant que scientifique, il est auteur de 2 livres et co-auteur de plus de 100 publications sur les turbines à gaz. Il est récipiendaire de plus de 30 prix nationaux et internationaux. Et je vais mentionner qu'il est chevalier de l'Ordre national du Québec. Professeur Hani Mostafa, à vous la parole.
Bonjour, et puis c'est un plaisir de représenter la francophonie canadienne et puis québécois. I have been in Canada for almost 50 years now, and I come to Egypt at least 3-4 times a year to help Egypt, to help the academic system, to help the company, and it's a pleasure here to accept this invitation. I'm going to find it hard here because I know here, as most of you are aware here, Montreal is a very bilingual city. 70-80% of Montreal speak fluently French and English. Une chose que vous avez oublié de mentionner, je suis diplômé de lycée du Caire, Babelou. Alors, je suis... ma première langue, c'est français après l'arabe, certainement. Alors, je vais essayer de faire la plupart de ma présentation en français parce que je respecte le fait que c'est la francophonie, mais le Canada, on est bilingue. Alors, nos présentations, c'est toujours bilingue. Alors, ça va être un mix et puis ça va donner plus de gymnastique pour les traducteurs ici pour sauter des deux. Okay? Mais sans plus tarder, alors c'est un plaisir d'être parmi vous et puis merci pour... J'aimerais, avant de mentionner les compétences qu'on a pour l'avenir, simplement parce qu'il y a plein des étudiants, il y a plein de défis et plein d'inquiétudes au point de vue qu'est-ce que le marché du travail. Mais j'aimerais certainement au début parler de l'industrie 4.0, 5.0, because this is a big evolution which is taking place. So the German came with 2011 with something which is called Cyber Physical Production System. It's a very heavy thing, so they abbreviated that to 4.0. And they mentioned 1, 2, and 3, which we all know. But the big difference is the speed. And the speed, I can show you that by some of these figures. Let's say the radio back in, it took 38 years to reach a population of 50 million. You look at iPod 3, Facebook 2. How many internet devices we have today? It's crazy. Every year we get a new iPhone. You can see that. L'intelligence artificielle, c'est un new buzzword qui est venu nous voir il y a 10 ans, but it's not new for us. All the GPS is artificial intelligence. So it's basically knowledge and decision making. And people talk about data, big data, big data, big data. Forget about big data here. What is important here is good data. Because I need to convert these data into information which can help me in doing my job. Alors ça, c'est une chose qui est très importante. Il y a 3 ce qu'on appelle des vagues de technologie. I'm sure most of you are aware of that, the hardware, the software, and the smartphone. But guess what? The new wave now is going to be totally the smartphone, but fueled by artificial intelligence, which means each one of us, we can program to our iPhone what is our hobby, what do we like to do, what we would like to eat. You wake up in the morning and the iPhone will tell you what to do. And it's up to us here to share this information or not in order not to be hacked. Digital twin, je ne sais pas parmi vous combien vous avez entendu les jumeaux numériques. Every one of us, physically, each one of us here will have a simulation, an analytical model to be done. It's like the car here. Any car, any plane, any engine, anything, machine, I can simulate that on the computer. And we have to interact between both of them. And that's what you call the digital twin. So nothing new. So if you look at the evolution, actually, I work at Pratt & Whitney, Canada for almost like 40 years. And as CTO, Chief Technology Officer. And at that time, we have something which is called digital enterprise. And after that, the German came with 4.0. After that, Siemens came in Hanover with something which is called the digital enterprise, which is back what we do. After that, there are so many books which has been written, one of them, Industry X.0, because people start getting sick and tired of 3 and 4 and 5. It's totally confusing people. Are we going to talk 6 now, 7, 8? What's happening? Et puis même, il y a un auteur qui est très connu, Eric Schaeffer, que je connais très bien, il est venu à Montréal plusieurs fois. Et puis il a parlé de comment on peut redéfinir le produit. Alors le produit du futur, ça va être ce qu'on appelle Smart Connected Products. Alors par exemple, le fridge, la voiture que vous avez, il y aura plein de sensors, plein des instruments dans ces voitures, dans ces machines qui vont être liés aux constructeurs pour qu'ils puissent améliorer la production, la conception de ça dans le futur. Alors ça existe déjà, comme vous connaissez. Alors ça, c'est le futur ici, Smart Connected Product, Autonomous also, qui peut penser eux-mêmes. Il y a eu plusieurs factories. You name it. Germany even have smart factory. Siemens Digital Factory. Europe Factory of the Future. GE Brilliant Factory. So everybody is talking about usine. Until the Japanese came in 2017, les Japonais, ils sont venus avec ce qu'on appelle maintenant la société 5.0. Parce que ça affecte toute la société. Ce n'est pas simplement l'industrie, ce n'est pas les machines, c'est toute la société. Les banques, les maisons, les universités, les écoles, les hôpitaux, le transport, toute la société va être affectée. Il y a plein d'exemples dans notre vie qui nous donnent ça. Et puis, il était capable aussi, les Japonais, de lier ça, guess what, avec les 17 objectifs de SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, qui sont les objectifs de développement durable des Nations Unies. Alors ça, c'était smart of them. Alors, le 4.0, on le connaît depuis longtemps, franchement. Alors, il y a 40 ans qu'on connaît ça. Les GPS, l'iPhone, l'Internet, toutes ces choses ici sont du 4.0, 5.0. Alors, ce n'est pas nouveau. Mais les Allemands, ils ont mis ça d'une façon plutôt pour la fabrication. Vous connaissez la machine allemande au point de vue de la fabrication. Maintenant, les défis, qui est le focus d'aujourd'hui, c'est quel est le défi au point de vue de la main-d'œuvre. Premièrement, il y aura certainement un changement massif pour le curriculum. We have to re-engineer that totally here. And this is just a list. You can read this list, and again, this presentation is available for you. And we're going to be looking more at industrial data scientists, statistical programming, what you call digital native. ICT, information communication technology, has to be into all disciplines at the university. We're not going to have any mechanical engineering, electric engineering, computer engineering, civil engineering, metallurgical material without knowledge of basic software. He or she doesn't have to develop a software, but they have to speak fluently with software. It's like, word processing, PowerPoint, it's like English and French. They need to learn all these software, otherwise they're not going to get any employment. So that's very important, by the way, because people are mentioning here, we don't need mechanical engineer. We don't need electrical engineering. Wrong. We need those, but we need, in addition to that, software skill. On vient de parler maintenant de spécialistes et généralistes au point de vue de la pyramide inversée. Alors, on a besoin des spécialistes, des diplômés avec des maîtrises, avec des doctorats. Ça, c'est clair. On a besoin de ça parce que la technologie, on a besoin de ça. Mais si on parle de généralistes ici maintenant, ça, c'est la base de la pyramide qu'on vient de discuter. Alors, on a besoin d'une balance des deux. Ça, c'est clair. C'est ça exactement ce qu'on appelle spécialiste versus généraliste. Est-ce que les robots, ils vont nous remplacer? OK, ça, c'est un gros défi. Et puis, je veux partager avec vous quelques statistiques. Ça, par exemple, ce sont des statistiques de l'industrie aérospatiale aux États-Unis, qui a subi une forte baisse de main-d'œuvre entre l'année 1990 et 2000. Ils ont perdu presque 40%. La même chose dans tout le monde, le Canada, tous les pays qui travaillent dans l'aérospatial. Ça, c'est la première chose à cause de la technologie. Après ça, si on regarde depuis 2000 jusqu'à 2020, il y aura une croissance de presque 9 fois le chiffre d'affaires, mais simplement avec double la main-d'œuvre. Which means I can do more with less. Est-ce qu'on va aller à 4 jours par semaine? Oui. Il y a des pays qui travaillent 4 jours par semaine. El Sharga, moi j'étais à Dubaï il y a 2 semaines, Finlande, Suède, il y a plein de compagnies au Canada qui travaillent 4 jours par semaine. Moi, mes étudiants, ma secrétaire, mes project managers, ils travaillent 4 jours par semaine. Because what I can do in 5 days, I can do in 4 days. So this is happening, it's gonna come for sure. Le online de Covid, tout ça ici, ça va faciliter les choses. Parce qu'il y a plein de compagnies qui travaillent maintenant hybrides. On sauve de l'énergie, on sauve du kérosène, c'est bien pour le climat, tu restes à la maison. Alors, tout ça, c'est bon pour plein de choses. And there are always saying, yes, but what about the economy? Come on, if you're going to have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you're going to take your family to go to shopping, to go to movie, to travel. So the economy will be working also. So this is totally. And there are statistics which has mentioned that when you work 4 days a week, the productivity is better, believe it or not. This is very, very proven statistic which I can share with you. Anyway, I'm going to skip this slide here because I'm sure you know what was happening during the COVID, as far as plane going without pilot. It didn't happen, by the way, and I hope it will not happen one day in the civil aviation, at least. Military, I have no problem with that, but I never will be. I worked 50 years in aerospace, but I will never be on a plane without a pilot. I can tell you that. I will never be that. Anyway, there are statistics which show in Germany at least, and all over, that there will be a net increase in employment. So people who are scared from this evolution, rest assured, there will be more job, but the job will be defined, will be changed. As an example, digital job, 41 million, 2020 is going to go to 190 to 2025. Some job will disappear for sure. I'll tell you an example. Like an example, there are some theory which is called Keynes, you can Google it, 1930, which is called technology unemployment. Any technology, there is productivity improvement and there is chômage. Il y a toujours, comment dire, on n'a pas besoin de plus de main-d'œuvre. Mais pendant les 150, 200 années dernières, toute l'économie a produit plus de value added et plus des opportunités. We have 200 years of development, economic development, and we're always growing. And I have 2 examples I can show you that. ATM machine, this robot which is on the wall here where I can put my card and get my money. Did we get rid of the bank tellers? No, they have been doing something different. The Skype and Zoom and Teams, which we have been living through for the last 3 years, did it reduce air travel? Except for the COVID, yes. Air travel has been going for the last 10 years and for the next 10 years by 5% every year. Business and pleasure. There will be 1,000 new aircraft introduced into the market new for the next 10 years. So there are plenty of opportunity. So this is just to show you. There are jobs that will disappear. Like an example, this guy who is climbing on 20-story building to clean the glass, Why do I need somebody to do that? Just put me a robot, you know, I mean, this guy costs enormous in terms of salary, insurance, all of that. I mean, of course, the cyclist, the dentist, I'm not going to have a robot playing in my mouse, you know, there's no way. The electrician, the guy who fixes the guy who fixes the bicycle, you know. There are some jobs, you know, or the plumber, you know. I'm not going to have a robot, you know, fixing water leak, etc. So there are jobs here which will never disappear. And don't forget something, artificial intelligence. Who created artificial intelligence? It's us. So I can control what can be done by artificial intelligence. And there are lots, il y a plein de statistiques que l'intelligence artificielle ne va pas détruire les opportunités de main-d'œuvre. Ça, c'est clair, parce qu'on peut contrôler ça. Et ça, c'est ça qui m'appelle maintenant le 5.0. Qu'est-ce que c'est le 5.0? À mon opinion, le 5.0 a été introduit depuis 2 années en Europe, et c'est une correction pour le 4.0, parce qu'ils ont négligé 3 choses qui sont très, très importantes. Première chose, ce qu'on appelle la pollution numérique. I don't know how many of you have heard about digital pollution. We abuse our iPhone. How many of us have 3, 4 iPhone? And each one of us use WhatsApp, text, email, and send 20 emails for 20 people with attachment. Half of them don't read it. This consumes energy, electricity. 2022, 6% of CO2 has been due to numerical. And this is big. Aviation is 3%, 2 to 3%, double aviation. Just one email with attachment is 50 grams of CO2. And that's why the word sustainability was introduced into 5.0. Something else, human. Je viens d'entendre une question ici au point de vue le côté social, le côté humain. On a complètement négligé ça dans le 4.0. Alors maintenant, le futur, il y aura des technologies, on doit impliquer pas simplement les ingénieurs, les docteurs, les médecins, on doit impliquer les personnes qui travaillent dans le social humain, dans toute l'humanité, tout ça, il doit être impliqué. Et puis, il y a plein d'exemples que je pourrais donner. So bringing, human by nature, they would like to be in control. I have the laptop, you know, the lady who came to help me here to put my presentation, I don't know, this is wrong. This is not my presentation. Here's my presentation. So I have a control over my laptop. I tell the laptop what to do and what not to do. And if he doesn't do what I'm telling him to do here, of course, I'm going to go crazy. Okay? So we have tendency to control exactly what we do. And this is why you can see 5.0, it's human-centric, sustainability, again, SDG. Avec tout ça. And then, guess what? Also, it's sustainable development goal. And now here, this is also for the students. Skilling, reskilling, upskilling, multi-skilling. Remember those 4. Critical and creative thinking. Integration skill. Comment on peut intégrer toutes les choses? I hope you're okay. I hope it's not because of me. Emotional intelligence. Alors maintenant, on commence à parler de emotional intelligence. Avant ça, on parlait simplement de intellectual intelligence. Maintenant, on parle de emotional intelligence. Augmented intelligence, where I can combine artificial and human intelligence. Multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary. And then the last thing here was a big 3E. Je viens d'avoir just had an interview yesterday, which actually it was published today in an Egyptian magazine. Anyway, about education. Students, university is not enough. University is 50% of what you will do or what you need. 50% is coming from exposure, things like now here, what you're attending, and experience, hands-on experience, whether you're an engineer, a doctor, lawyer, accountant, anything. You have to practice. Otherwise, you're not going to get a job easily. So this is education, as you can see, is just 1/3 of what you're doing. The rest here, you have to do that. Alors ça, c'est le sommaire, et puis c'est pour ça, au Canada, il y a 5 ans, on a créé un réseau universitaire de 8 universités que je dirige depuis 5 ans, et ça commence à être international maintenant. Et puis, comme vous voyez ici, on est complètement bilingue ici. Alors, vous avez nos 2 logos. Et ce logo, ça a été fait par une professeure à l'université de Galala, en Égypte. Alors, c'est Dr Rania Khalil que j'aimerais simplement la saluer parce que c'est elle qui a fait ce logo après quelques itérations. C'est très, très clair. On parle de SDG maintenant. On ne parle pas de 4.05. Le Canada, on ne parle pas de 4.05. C'est fini. It's finished. Parce que it's confusing everybody. And we talk about smart, digital, green society. And guess what? It is the same SDG of Sustainable Development Goal. Just a coincidence. Okay? And this is what we have, and I'm going to give you very quickly, just for the sake of time, le réseau. Alors ça, c'est le réseau. Il y a eu une évolution. On est allé à 4.0, 5.0, SDG. On a plein de projets. Je vais simplement focuser sur le côté research et puis éducation. On a des formations partout. On a ce qu'on appelle des jumeaux numériques pour les étudiants à les universités. Je parle de 8 universités. On travaille ensemble. On a à peu près 12 millions de dollars canadiens pour avoir des infrastructures pour simuler tous les procédés de machines pour tous les départements. On a tous les softwares. Ça, c'est très, très important. Hier, je donnais une présentation à Misr University of Science and Technology in 6th of October in Cairo, and I give that to a similar audience of students, and I mentioned that. They don't have those software. You can have Dassault software, but those software, at least for engineers and for medical, pharmacy, for business, there are lots of software students have to know, which are, I'm giving you Siemens because this is the one. I mean, actually, I work with Siemens for almost 15, 20 years, so I'm a little biased, for Siemens, obviously. But these are the software which is very familiar, so I recommend that to you. And this slide, I think it's very important, and I'm sure everyone here, whenever I put this slide, on commence à voir des photos de cette slide parce que ça fait un sommaire, et ça, c'est une étude qu'on a fait avec toute l'industrie aérospatiale à Montréal, avec les universités, pour définir quelles sont les compétences du futur. Il y a plein de choses qui ne sont pas nouveaux, on les connaît déjà. Data valorization, process, business management, les programmes qu'on doit avoir aux universités. We cannot have any student in engineering graduating in Canada without having at least 4 months, at least 8 to 12 months paid project at industry with credit. Otherwise, he or she will not graduate. We don't have that here. We have only 1 month, 6 weeks, 2 months. I spoke to so many people at the ministry level. Sorry for my word here, that's what I call tourism. Ça, c'est du tourisme ici. L'étudiant qui va pour 1 semaine, 2 semaines, 1 month here, this is just, to get to know what's going on, but he doesn't produce anything. He needs more than that. That's normal. The training courses, you can see that, etc. And puis also the software. So this is a package which all now students. Au Canada, on vient d'introduire depuis septembre un nouveau diplôme certificat en entreprise numérique avec 5 cours. Après ça, ça va être la maîtrise. On peut partager ça avec vous, avec l'université Sngur. Alors ça fait plaisir ici de partager ce qu'on connaît au point de vue des meilleures pratiques qu'on a utilisées au Canada avec votre université, étant une université francophonie, alors c'est plus facile à faire. Et puis les 5 cours qui sont donnés, chaque cours est donné par un professeur d'un département différent. Par exemple, le premier est donné par un professeur en génie mécanique, le deuxième en génie électrique, le troisième en génie de construction, and so on. Alors ça, c'est ça qu'on fait. On fait plein des écoles d'été. Chaque année, on fait des écoles d'été pour les étudiants. On utilise le mot 4.0, mais ça va être changé pour SDG maintenant, les écoles d'été. Et après ça, c'est fini. Alors ça, c'est la fin de ma présentation. J'espère que j'ai fait ça dans 15 minutes.
Dans 20 minutes.
Alors s'il y a des questions, avec plaisir.
Oui, rapidement, des questions.
Il y a un micro qui va venir ici.
Bonsoir, je suis Adel Chaouki, un citoyen alexandrin, égyptien, qui aime bien l'Afrique toujours. Alors, je voulais juste vous remercier tous, jusqu'à présent, vous et M. Didier, pour vos interventions. Je voudrais juste dire que c'est juste, je pense, le futur pour l'éducation, c'est comme vous venez de dire, c'est des études interdisciplinaires. Comme vous avez dit, un généraliste qui a besoin de ce que M. Henny vient de dire, tout ça ensemble. Parce qu'à un moment, je pense que l'ingénieur qui produit quelque chose, l'ingénieur mécanique, en tout cas, qui produit quelque chose, il aura besoin d'un système de comptabilité pour savoir le résultat vis-à-vis la productivité de la machine. À un moment, il s'arrête. On n'a pas ça. Peut-être on a ça en Égypte, mais pas à un niveau élevé. C'est à mon avis, c'est le futur, c'est juste pour les études interdisciplinaires. Et je voudrais bien demander à M. Henny, pour le système de 4 jours par semaine, de travail 4 jours par semaine, oui. Est-ce que chaque jour, c'est au lieu de 8 heures, c'est 10 heures pour remplacer le jour en plus?
Non, c'est 8 heures, 32 heures.
32 heures.
Ah oui, 32 heures.
Et la
parce que c'est la productivité, ça amélioré.
Est-ce que vous pensez que c'est applicable en Égypte, comme la culture, peut-être au Canada, en Finlande, en Suède? Est-ce que vous pensez
en Égypte, ici, on travaille déjà 3 jours par semaine.
Oui, c'est ça. Non, oui, exactement.
Sorry, docteur Hicham.
Exactement. Et si je peux généraliser, c'est pas juste en Égypte, c'est en Afrique.
Oui, je sais.
Oui,
mais le côté multidisciplinaire, une chose pour les étudiants que j'utilise toujours pour les étudiants avec lesquels j'interagis. En ingénierie, on a ce qu'on appelle un eye engineer and a T engineer. Remember that an eye engineer is an engineer who is very specialized in material manufacturing, noise, emission, whatever, okay? But a T engineer is one, you have to be an eye engineer first. You have to know exactly your discipline, that's for sure. Après ça, on peut progresser pour ce qu'on appelle un T engineer. That's what we call system integration interdisciplinary. On a besoin des deux. C'est pour ça que je différencie entre les maîtrises. On a besoin des maîtrises doctorats. Mais qui vont être les professeurs de demain? Mais ça, c'est clair. Malheureusement, au Canada, on a un gros problème. J'aimerais avoir des étudiants d'ici. Parce qu'un tiers des étudiants canadiens, ils font des études supérieures. On a besoin 2 tiers qui viennent de l'extérieur. C'est comme moi. Quand j'ai migré au Canada il y a 50 ans, on a plein. 2 tiers des étudiants de cycle supérieur viennent des pays de l'extérieur. Alors ça, c'est un gros défi. Alors, we need both. We need both. Autre question?
La toute dernière, veuillez être bref.
Monsieur le professeur Annie Moustapha, ma question est la suivante. Lorsque vous avez fait votre présentation, je me réjouissais du fait que vous prenez en considération tous ces manquements qu'il y a dans le processus de développement défini par les politiques africaines, mais seulement je suis toujours inquiet lorsque j'entends parler de ces développements qui se situent un peu dans le contexte de la mondialisation. Quand on sait que l'Afrique aujourd'hui ne parvient pas toujours, je vais dire l'Afrique au sud du Sahara, je préfère préciser, ne parvient pas toujours à définir ses modèles de développement technologique. Alors, avec tout ce qu'on est en train de voir aujourd'hui, vous parlez de la 5.0, on a eu la 4.0, qui en réalité reste même encore tellement floue, tellement opaque pour cette Afrique-là. Est-ce que vous pensez que l'Afrique a déjà tous les éléments pour pouvoir embrasser le monde digital et avancer au même rythme que tous les autres, le Japon, la Chine, les États-Unis, Canada, j'en passe. Je vous remercie.
Mais écoute, je comprends très bien ton point. Il y a l'Afrique du Nord et puis la vraie Afrique ici. Je pourrais te dire mon expérience. J'ai plein des étudiants qui viennent faire des maîtrises de doctorat avec moi à l'université, qui viennent du Cameroun, du Sénégal, de tous les pays africains. J'ai plein qui viennent. Ces étudiants, il y a parfois qui restent au Canada, ça c'est normal. Il y a parmi eux, que je connais, qui retournent. Alors ça, c'est un transfert de technologie. Ça, c'est la seule chose. C'est comme nous, les Égyptiens, les Libanais, les Tunisiens, même les Français. On a des Français qui immigrent pour venir au Canada, pour s'installer, ou peut-être apprendre et puis retourner. Canada, on est un pays des migrants. On est 40 millions. And guess what? 1 million job opening in Canada, which we cannot fill. On est 40 millions. We are 40 million. I'm not making a promotion to get you jobs, but I'm telling you, Canada, we have 1 million open jobs in all disciplines. Et puis, encore une fois, études supérieures, la même chose ici. Alors, les étudiants de l'Afrique, oui, venez nous voir, apprenez le 4.0, 5.0, le SDG, et retournez à vos pays. Il n'y a pas de souci.
Merci, professeur Hani Mostafa. Nous allons applaudir. We are going to move on our third speaker, Dr. Hicham Abdelghafar. Dr. Hicham Abdelghafar est un entrepreneur, fondateur et partenaire principal de Menagous.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Je ne peux pas faire comme Dr. Hani Mostafa, je ne peux pas gigoler l'anglais et le français. Aussi, je suis gradué aussi de lycée, le même lycée du Caire, mais maybe younger. Mais je ne peux pas faire ça. Alors, je vais faire mon présentation en anglais, mais je vous promets, si l'université Sengor va m'inviter une autre fois, l'autre fois, je promets de faire la présentation en français. D'accord? All right. My presentation is about unleashing the potential of African youth. Okay, how can we turn job seekers into job creators? And to do that, I like to introduce you to myself. This is my QR code, by the way. This is my QR code. If you like, you can scan it and you will be connected to my LinkedIn immediately. And I am originally a physician. I was graduate in Qasr School of Medicine in Cairo, and I come from a family of engineers. So I made the wrong choice of going into medicine, and then I discovered that I'm not that happy with medicine, and I moved into engineering, and I got my Master of Science in E-commerce from the Middlesex University in the UK, and I became more of a joint venture between an engineer and a physician, which Dr. Hani was referring to as a multidisciplinary. And I became specialized into health informatics. And then I moved into business, and I have established 3 companies in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, and in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and in the US, in Miami, in Florida. So I am also an entrepreneur, what you call a serial entrepreneur. Finally, in 2012, I decided to move into investing and try to give my experience back to the society, and hence the American University in Cairo convinced me. The dean of the School of Business is a good friend of mine, and he has convinced me to move into teaching. So above all that, now I'm a university professor, so I teach at the American University in Cairo. I teach management, entrepreneurship, and so I can talk to you from the academic point of view, and I can also talk to you from the business point of view about entrepreneurship, and this is what I see is the way of unleashing your potential. So let's have a basic question first. Why Africa youth hold the key to its development potential? Actually, the answer to this question in this great statistic, 60% of today's Africans are under the age of 25. Wow! 60% of our population are under the age of 25. No wonder why everybody thinks that the next coming Mark Zuckerberg or the next coming Steve Jobs should come from Abidjan, from Abuja, from Cairo, from Senegal, from all of our beautiful African countries. I mean, we definitely should, because we have the manpower to do that. Moreover, by 2030, 42% of all youth all around the world are going to be African. This is really a great number. We should all be very happy of this and see that this is going to give our future a great potential. I would like to share with you this slide from the ILO, which show you there are two statistics here of great importance. One of them speak about the labor force penetration rate. And as you see, the world penetration rate is at 40%, while we at Africa at 43.9%. Also, the youth employment, the world average is at 34%. We are at 38%. So we have really great potential for our youth employment. When I first was approached by Sengor University to give this presentation, and they gave me the title "Unleashing the Potential of Youth, Transforming the Job Seeker into Job Creator," and I was thinking about how can I approach this interesting subject. What should I do? And after going through this nice statistics, I decided to do a creative experiment. Everybody got a mobile, right? You all have a mobile, right? Connected to the internet. All right. And then you can try to go to a great new application called ChatGPT. Okay? Yeah, ChatGPT. Unfortunately, it's not really working that easy in Egypt for an unknown reason, but there is a trick. You can go through Telegram. Who got Telegram? Who got Telegram? You all got Telegram, right? You can go to Telegram and go OpenAI bot. OpenAI bot. This is a workaround to make ChatGPT work. So what's ChatGPT? ChatGPT is the first text-based artificial intelligence tool that is really, you can talk to it like talking to a human. Okay, you can ask it in text, you can also ask it to produce pictures. It's a great tool, and it is done by a great company called OpenAI. And OpenAI is a company led by Sam Altman. And Sam Altman is one of the gurus of Silicon Valley. He is the founder of the Y Combinator, and the Y Combinator is the accelerator that gave to us Dropbox, Airbnb, a great company. So when you have a company led by Sam Altman, and this company has raised billions of dollars and is coming with this new tool, you should try it. And actually, this tool is making great noise. So I decided to give this tool a test and give it the presentation title that the Sengor University gave me. So I just ask OpenAI, please produce to me what should I talk about if I want to unleash the potential of African youth. What should I do? And this is what the AI gave. By the way, this picture is generated by AI. Okay, so this is not an actual picture. This is not an actual human being. There is no actual human being that look like this beautiful African lady. But this is the face that the artificial intelligence is putting on my question. So an unleashed African youth should look like that. Very happy, and as you see, and looking very aspirationally to the future. And she gave me 5 recommendations. So the AI gave me 5 recommendations about unleashing the potential of African youth. First is to invest in education. And when we are speaking here about education, we are not speaking about the I education like Dr. Hani said, but we are more talking about the T education, which means the education that can transform you into entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurial education is actually something that is really lagging in our African university. And I personally had the chance to know that and firsthand, because 3 years ago I was leading the Wadwani Foundation Entrepreneurship Education Program, which is a program led by Silicon Valley Foundation that belonged to one of Silicon Valley gurus, a guy called Ramesh Wadhwani, is a Silicon Valley billionaire that is investing into startups, and also he is the kind of giving back to the society by promoting entrepreneurship. So the Wadhwani Foundation was coming to Africa, and they chose me as their executive vice president for Africa. With them, I went to open the Wadhwani Foundation in several African countries. I went to Nigeria, I went to Tanzania, to Kenya, to South Africa, and of course to Egypt. And we have, and what the Wadhwani Foundation was offering is a partnership between universities and the foundation, and giving them an entrepreneurship education program so that they can introduce this entrepreneurship education program into their curriculum. But the catch here that they insisted that this program should be taught for credit, not just taught as an extracurricular activity, but to make sure that there is a skin in the game for the university, so it had to be in the form of credit. And my job was to go to those universities and try to convince them, and meet with the deans and meet with the academicians and convince them to introduce entrepreneurship education in their curriculum, and take the Wadhwani curriculum. And we, by the way, we were giving this curriculum for free, and still we can give it for free till today. And only what we ask for is that the professors of the university become trained and certified through our organization, so they can teach the curriculum the way that we teach it. And we also was giving them LMS. And to tell you the truth, it was a very difficult job, because among us academicians, there is a great resistance into teaching entrepreneurship. I don't know, maybe the time was not ready, but we had great difficulty. Finally, we had a breakthrough in Egypt. For example, we signed 10 universities. Among them are the University of Alexandria, by the way, and also Cairo University and the American University in Cairo for sure, and other universities. And in Nigeria, we had great difficulty, but in Kenya, we were more successful. In South Africa, it went well. So entrepreneurship education is not really an issue that is our universities are taking seriously. So we have to introduce it, and this is the first advice from my AI. Second advice was to support entrepreneurship. And how can we support entrepreneurship? By supporting entrepreneurs, and there is a great importance about a special focus in entrepreneurship called social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship is very much needed in Africa. We have a lot of entrepreneurs focusing on solving many problems, but the social entrepreneurship is one that is really missing, and it needs incubator and accelerator that focus on it. There is also a new trend in entrepreneurship support, what we call a venture studio. This is coming very new, and we are working on that in Egypt, and also in Rwanda. There are some programs that teach venture studio. So basically the venture studio is whenever you have a great team and they don't have an idea, so we give them the idea, or vice versa, we have a great problem or a great idea and we bring the team. So the venture studio is also very much needed. Number 3 is increase access to resources. And in this part, there is, I read a very interesting report that regarding the investment or the resources. We have a major problem or a major gap between the Anglophones and the Francophones in entrepreneurship investments. For example, out of $8.8 billion that Africa was able to raise as investment from 2015 to 2022, only $400 million went to the Francophones. This is a big gap. So the lion's share is going to the Anglophones. We have to do more to support the Francophone, and hence I'm very much supportive to what the Singapore University and what the Francophonic community are trying to do. And by the way, we had done some approaches with the Francophonic part of Africa. I belong to a group of investors called the Cairo Angels, and the Cairo Angels have made 2 trips, one to Senegal and the other one to Côte d'Ivoire, to try to meet with our counterparts in the Francophonic Africa to study their ecosystem and see how can we support and how can we also invest, because investment and putting tie between the investors and the startups in different parts of Africa is very important. So part of the problem is to diminish the gap between the Anglophones and the Francophones when it comes to access to resources.
5 minutes remaining.
Okay. Number 4 is to foster mentorship, and fostering mentorship is by events like this, creating a pool of mentors, and mentors are very much needed part of the ecosystem, and having Francophonic mentors is not easy to find, especially in non-Francophonic dominant countries like Egypt, but there are a lot of Egyptians that speak French like me, ou bien qui ont oublié son français et va essayer de le reprendre. Mais there are, I mean, at my age, when I was a student, a school student, French was very sexy at that time. I don't know why it is not with the ages of my kids, but I wish this will come back. All right? And number 5 is encouraging innovations and creativity. And we have here to focus on tech. Tech is very important, having tech hubs. And in tech hubs, we have already very well-established tech hubs in Africa. And I'm happy to say that Rwanda, which is a very small African country, is one of those beautiful tech hubs that is really shining, although very small, very limited population, but it's a great, the country with a great potential. And I myself was really astonished when I visited Rwanda. I was really surprised with the amount of advancement they have and the quality of the students and the quality of startups they have in this beautiful country. Okay, those are the 5 recommendations that the AI have given me. But we have to understand that for those recommendations to work, we have to have 3 important elements: speed, learning, and focus. And for those 3 circles to integrate with each other, because we have in the middle of them here is optimum learning. You cannot have only speed and learning, because if you have only speed and learning, you don't have a focus, you will have a premature product. And if you have speed and focus without learning, so you are chasing your tail because you are not learning. And you have learning and focus without speed, you run out of resources. So we, as Africans, we have to have the 3 very important elements together. We have to have speed, learning, and focus. And I will leave the rest of my presentation for you to maybe look at it and communicate with me, and leave the rest of the time for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you to you, Dr. Isham, for the 5 ways, 5 recommendations in order to unleash the potential of the African youth, and the 3 tips to keep in mind. We are going to take just 1 question, I prefer, from that side. Nous n'avons pas eu de questions de ce côté-ci. Une question.
Tu peux faire la question en français. Je vais comprendre, mais je veux... I will reply in English.
OK. Pourtant, il y a beaucoup d'étudiants de ce côté-là.
Qui parlent pas l'anglais, hein?
Bon, on peut basculer de l'autre côté puisqu'il n'y a rien jusque-là. Voilà, il y a une main, oui. Allez-y, vous pouvez lui donner le micro pour qu'il s'exprime.
Ok, donc je la pose en français. Merci, monsieur, pour votre présentation. Dans votre présentation, vous avez beaucoup plus parlé de l'entrepreneuriat qu'il faut inclure dans le système éducatif. Et vous savez, le véritable problème aussi, c'est que, comme vous l'avez dit, au niveau de l'entrepreneuriat, quand on forme un entrepreneur, quand il finit, il faut qu'il ait des moyens pour pouvoir véritablement entreprendre. Et ça, c'est le problème même de l'Afrique aujourd'hui. Quand nous parlons toujours d'Afrique, nous parlons vraiment de chez nous. Voilà, donc, on forme des entrepreneurs, mais d'abord même, pour avoir des financements, au niveau même de l'État, c'est compliqué. Au niveau de la banque, il y a beaucoup de garanties. Donc, finalement, tu finis, tu veux entreprendre, et souvent, tu es obligé de prendre ou bien d'utiliser de l'argent de la famille pour pouvoir avancer. Et je pense que ça aussi, c'est une réalité qui limite. Donc, certainement, nos États, et souvent même les États, ils n'ont même pas fini de payer des armes, de former l'armée, de faire toutes ces choses avant même de s'occuper des jeunes entrepreneurs. Donc, je voulais que vous essayiez de donner encore plus de détails là-dessus. Merci.
Thank you very much. This is a very important question. And when I teach entrepreneurship to my students, the first thing I tell them, never ever take money from the bank. If you take money from the bank, you're not going to be creative, because taking money of a bank as a loan will make you very conservative, because you want to pay and you are going to pay interest. So from where can I take my money? When you start a startup, you have 3 people for which you can go for money. We call them the 3F. The family, the friend, and the fools. And those are a lot. So you go first. And what we call bootstrap. A bootstrap is an American slang, meaning you use all your means, because you will never find an investor to put money in your firm if you don't put your money first. You have to have a skin in the game. So your skin in the game will be to have money from those 3F, from the family, friend, and the fools. But never, ever go to bank. If you go to a bank, then you are starting an what we call an SME, a small medium enterprise, a small company that's not going to scale. It's not going to be Facebook. It's not going to be Instabug. It's not going to be Swivel. It's not going to be Uber. And we want to have the next coming Uber, the next coming Facebook from our continent. So don't take money from the bank. So all the African countries have what we call an ecosystem, a startup ecosystem. That's what we have in Egypt, and I have seen that in Nigeria, I've seen that in Kenya, in Rwanda, everywhere. Of course, we need more money, more support, more organization to support, but the ecosystem is the one that should provide you the money. When you run your resources from the family and the friend and the fools, then you go to the entrepreneurs to put money into your company, what we call angel investors and venture capitals. This is the ecosystem, and it has nothing to do with banks. So don't go to the banks, and go to the 3Fs first, and then go to the ecosystem, and you will find a lot of support. Okay?
Ok, merci. Nous allons retenir les 3F. Nous progressons avec l'avant-dernière intervention, celle de Marwan Abdine, sur l'avenir du travail, l'essor des effectifs dynamiques et le pouvoir des choix individuels. Marwan Abdine is CEO and leadership expert at Abdine Consultancy Group. He has worked as an HR and management consultant to government, local and international organizations over the past 15 years. Abdine assisted his clients to navigate the COVID-19 crisis by providing them with virtual HR, operation, and finance management consultancy, as well as equip them with their teams with the stress management and remote working skills, and empower their management teams with the necessary leadership skills and growth mindset. Abdin worked as a training advisor to government and non-government organizations, such as the Ministry of Telecommunication, Nahat al-Marousa, Egypt, and for development entities such as GIZ from Germany. The floor is to you, Mr. Abdin, and your spot time is 10 to 15 minutes maximum. Thank you.
Much. And thank you for the distinguished speakers as well for their contributions today, which we are building on. And I see that there is a very good flow of the talks that we're going, which is leading into a very good closure in the end. So I'm going to talk about the future of work, and the topic is a little bit of a dichotomy between the rise of workforce dynamics as well as the power of individual choice. Just a quick introduction about what we actually do. So the mission of ACG is actually trying to make some sort of unity between the different sectors in the labor market. Speaking of which is the B2B, the business-to-business spectrum, the B2C, which is the consumer and the public sector, as well as the B2G, which is the government sector. And what we try to do is to empower these three sectors, if you will, develop them, as well as to transform the overall outcome of these entities. Because the shift from being focused on theoretical part and wanting to actually talk about the on-job applications, how to apply what people are learning into the jobs, and trying to make this bridge between the two sides is what I'm going to talk about shortly. So basically, when we partner with partners of success when it comes to the B2G, so we help organizations in developing their leadership, developing their coaching and development sector when it comes to executive coaching for the managers, for the department heads, for the CEOs, as well as for the directors, and making sure that they understand the components of their organizational structure and what they need to do from quality control on the different processes, the automation of the organizations, and so on and so forth. For multinational companies as well as international companies, we support with the leadership development, succession planning, HR integration, and how to make sure that the HR is actually taking a big part now, specifically after COVID-19, with their integration as a business partner of success, not just as someone who is responsible for the employee relations in the traditional manner, if you will. And with universities, we support as well when it comes to the career development sector, helping universities in integrating new solutions when it comes to helping their students and postgraduates in making sure that they understand what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and how they can find the job that is most suitable for them according to their personalities as well as to other aspects. And making sure that from our experience with the B2B sector, we understand what it means to actually require a qualified person to work in a certain job and understand the changes that happened in the job design, specifically post-COVID-19. And speaking of which, of course, the impact of COVID-19 has, as a pandemic, has accelerated over the past 3 years. And the impact, although might be getting lowest in scale, the implications is much bigger when it comes to the organizational response to these difficulties and these challenges. So, would the way we work change drastically? This is a question that has been asked over the past a couple of years. And it's not as simple as working from home, because if it was so, I think none of us would be here today talking about what is the future of work. And to understand that better, we need to understand that it's time now for disruption and new thinking when it comes in the labor market. The current system might be lagging, and there is at least some ill-suited manners when it comes to the structural changes that are occurring in an increasing pace. And as a result, we have this dichotomy I was speaking about. We see high unemployment with unfulfilled jobs. We see rising productivity with stagnant wages, and economic recovery with declining upward mobility for many industries. And fortunately, the present dysfunction, as we see, and apparent contradictions are spurring changes. So rather than returning to businesses as usual, after the recession that is currently impacting the market and is having some prolonged effects, as we can foresee, the labor market is settling into a new normal. And if we chart the course very well, we will be able to navigate that new normal in a scientific manner, not just based on assumptions or based on reactivity. Because the problem when it comes to crisis management on the different aspects, whether B2B, B2G, or B2C, is that crisis management requires scenario planning. And we need to think in scenarios and understand that in scenario A, when such a thing happens, we need to do so and so. In scenario B, when something happens, we need to do so and so, and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about how to unleash this employment opportunities and economic growth, speaking of 4 key players. So talent. Talent is the key word that I'm going to highlight this talk about. And of course, talent becomes the key differentiator for organizations now. And countries alike, of course. So this shift is evident in 4 main pillars. We'll be focusing on the first 2, of course, which is the demographic change and dynamic workforce shifts, the rise of individual choice, the technological revolution, as well as the dawn of data analytics or data analysis. Well, when we talk about the shifting demographics and the dynamic workforces, there are trends like the aging and the declining of birth rates, which means the days of abundant labor are ending in much of the world. So there's no longer excess of people who are highly qualified and are there to employ on the spot. It's much more difficult than before. And 60% of the people now who live in countries with stagnant or shrinking workforces. So we have a big chunk of people who are living in countries that are shrinking in their workforces. And faced with these labor shortages, employers and policymakers are being forced to think differently about talent sourcing. And if we look at that chart that you're going to see, there are certain skills, as some of our distinguished and prestigious speakers spoke before. There are skills that have increased, and there are others that there are no longer need for. So according to the changes that are taking place now, there is a response in the labor market. And we need to be aware of where exactly are these areas of changes that are taking place when it comes to certain required skills that are matching to rising jobs in the labor market. And for example, you have written expression, deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning are on the rise, whereas control precision, manual dexterity, trunk strength, external flexibility, and static strength are a little bit on decline. Reflected into the other slide, actually, where you can see that some jobs and tasks are more at risk of automation, as Professor Hani was speaking, and others are at risk of being half automated, so not like fully automated, which again requires a lot of extensive research on how we can make this balance between the working force and the automation in these different industries. Analytical and soft skills tasks are increasing where manual tasks have declined, and this is of course 100% making sense. So you see that the routine, manual kind of mundane things are going on the low. So as you can see with Amazon, for example, now in the storage and the supply chain is almost fully automated. So you have machines that are taking and putting everything in the stocks without the need to have actual laborers working in the storage areas as before. Whereas you have non-routine jobs, which depends on interpersonal skills, depends on communication skills, depends on people who are analyzing, using, of course, AI tools and other technological support. The pandemic hasn't just highlighted the digital divide, it has set off a profound economic and social crisis, one that is deeply affecting the young people. And this is where we move into the second challenge, which is the rise of individual choice. And with the rise of individual choice, we can see that despite the fact that there are millions of jobs to shop, and actually this is now a terminology, shopping for jobs, because they're all over there, very few people are actually that qualified to apply for these jobs due to the drastic changes that we've been just speaking of. Not just from the ability to do something, but from the lack of awareness of certain competencies that are required, which reflects into certain skill sets and mindsets that will enable those people applying for these jobs to be able to qualify. So rather than hanging on to a job for life, the goal today is to be employable. And this is very important to see it from the perspective of the younger generations. Younger generations are no longer bought into the concept of loyalty to a certain job for like 20, 30, 40 years. They are hopping from one job to the other, and actually the time period is actually decreasing. So now you can see that some people can stay for 6 months, for example. Previous, or even less, by the way. And previous ages, you would see the HR people, they would look at the CV and tell you, I see that you're moving every 2 years or 3 years. This is no longer the case. You will get CVs with people who are jumping within the same year, which is, again, very challenging when it comes to maintaining like a workforce culture within the companies. So the Great Resignation, which is above us all and has started actually, and we can see the implications starting from 2019 and above, is because there is a lack of understanding between what the organizations see the workforce as and their expectations of it, and the reality of what the workforce is now. So 40%, this is a survey done by McKinsey, and in the survey, 40% of global workers say that they might leave their jobs in the near future. And the near future here is determined as 3 to 6 months. A big challenge, specifically when it comes to companies investing money and resources when it comes to recruitment, because there is recruitment costs, training and development, onboarding employees, because even contracts, traditional contracts, gives you a 3 months probation. Actually, 3 months could be the work-life span for a certain employee. And as we can see, the top reasons for quitting previous jobs and the demanding need for adaptation when it comes to the workforces, we can see that lack of career development and advancement is on top. Inadequate total compensation, uncaring and uninspiring leaders, lack of meaningful work, unsustainable work expectations, unreliable and unsupportive people at work, lack of workplace flexibility, non-inclusive and unwelcoming community, lack of support for health and well-being, geographic ties and travel demands, unsafe workplace environment, inadequate resource accessibility. So the power of choice here is that the employee can leave at any time. And the competition is much higher when it comes for organizations to make sure that they are retaining the talents that they have earned so hard and spent a lot of money in developing. So making sure that we are actually maintaining these talents requires some extra measures to do. So as employers adapt to this workforce trend, wages and opportunities will be increasingly dictated by skills and not tenure. And this is the perspective change that we need to look at. We don't count days, we don't count years now. We look at skills. We look at competencies and how we can actually integrate these competencies in a modern way of talent management. And the individual choice is causing problems, of course, in the labor market. So companies, understandably, of course, ask, why should I train you if you leave and work for my competitor? However, with talent shortages looming, the need to retain employees may soon tip the balance towards greater investment in development programs. By providing learning opportunities, employers become a talent destination. And this is the concept that we now hear, which is employer branding. So you're no longer just spending money on marketing for your product and services, but also marketing to gain talents, to convince people to come and join you, to sell your environment, to sell the culture that you are an employer of choice. And now there are even awards. And of course, it is now a little bit booming when it comes to the Middle East, and seeking to be an employer of choice is, again, a challenge that companies and organizations need to work on. Moving into the technological revolution, I'm not going to talk a lot about it. Dr. Hani covered the part for us, of course, with the industrial revolution. So as a result of rapid technological changes, companies today face shorter business cycles and truly global competition. Few industries are safe from disruption. Automation, facilitated by better artificial intelligence, is poised to have a major impact on jobs. And going into the following screen to see that impact. So we have data detective, ethical sourcing officer, master of edge computing, fitness commitment counselors, AI-assisted healthcare technician. If you've heard about 90% of these jobs, please raise your hands. Who has heard of these jobs? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we have like a handful, less than 10 people. So again, as you can see, there is a new way of work. There is a future of work that dictates a lot of new understandings that we need to do from our side. And this brings about the importance of HR and the importance of talent management within the organizations. And as I said earlier, HR is the business partner. HR is no longer someone who's concerned about the attendance and making sure that why are you leaving early from work, but actually helping you and enabling you to empower the organization in which you're working with, and giving you these tools that will enable you to do so. So with the dawn of talent management, now it's the data period. So we're no longer convincing one another or getting budgets from CEOs or budgets from organizations based on assumptions. It's based on science. And making sure that we turn everything that we manage from an HR perspective into scientific data to help us in better decision making and to help us in making sure that we're actually impacting the bottom and top lines of the businesses is now of evident and high importance that we need to work on. So people analytics is basically about behavioral intelligence tests, digital performance scorecards, better human resource information systems, all of which needs to be integrated in one digital system and one digital platform and tied into the full organization. And this is not only specific for B2B, but also for B2G and government public sectors. So the last 30 plus months since the COVID-19, everything has changed, of course, and the power has shifted from organizations to people. And this is strong realizations that we need to be facing in reality. So from profit to mutual prosperity. And from me to we. And if you don't see this, then you have a big issue. Specifically as organizations or people who are in control of certain directions within their organizations. So many now are choosing to leave their jobs. The competition to attract new talent is growing fiercer than ever because employees are now asking questions that are humane. They're asking, why am I doing this? What's the reason? What's the purpose behind my job? What is in it for me? For people, of course, who are thinking in a financial manner, which is makes sense, of course, 100% with the economic recession. And how can we do it better? Because now there must be some chance for people to actually elaborate and talk about what they need to do, how it can be done, and not just receive it from the top management, but also have a say in a flexible manner, in a vertical and non-vertical manner when it comes to organization and management. And this is actually, again, much affected that 14% are likely to be automated from the jobs that we've just spoken about, while another 32% are at high risk of being partially automated. So not all young people have equal access, and now we're moving a little bit from the big picture into the smaller picture. So less than 15 years old people have spoken to a career council in school. Less than half of them have that opportunity. Nearly 75% of young people say that they would like or would have liked more support from schools in finding a job. Students from disadvantaged backgrounds are also likely to take part in most career development activities rather than the advantaged students. Which means that in many countries, students from disadvantaged backgrounds are less likely to take part in any career development activities, which means there is a big chunk within the society who have no idea what career development means, no idea what the labor market needs are. So to close with a call for action when it comes to the 4 parties in concern. So a call to action for policymakers and public sector. The first action for public sector is to strengthen career guidance and provisions and opportunities to explore the world of work, especially for those who are least likely to have strong family support as they choose their path. Learn from each other and from the private sector and non-government organizations by sharing challenges and successes in how they are preparing for the future of learning and the future of work. Listen to young people's concerns about education and work. The ideas of more young people need to be added to those of governments, businesses, and unions in order to better understand and plan for the future of work. Explore new ways of delivering social benefits that suit non-traditional work, continue to be available to vulnerable young people so that they have adequate shelter, food, and access to healthcare, whether they are studying, working, or seeking a job. Focus on employment for life rather than protecting specific jobs in companies, will increase the workforce mobility, protect the individual, and encourage lifelong learning and development. Invest in vocational training and lifelong learning programs so that young people can get the skills they need for the jobs of today and tomorrow. And of course, the vet or TVET sector is a big sector that needs and is actually being invested on a lot, specifically in Egypt. I think our colleagues over there are going to cover that in the upcoming talks. So help companies maintain or expand their apprenticeship and internship programs. And for the private sector and SMEs, my advice would be a more intense search of talent is beginning, and we are seeing interesting people practices emerge, which means that I need to understand that as a company, as a B2B or a small medium enterprise, or even an organization, flexible working is now a very important policy. I cannot go back to our traditional ways of work. We cannot go back to the traditional contracts. Even the contracts themselves with the workforce have changed. The contracts are no longer full-time and part-time. There are a lot of other contracts to cater to the individual needs and the power of individual choice. Phased retirements, anchor careers, knowledge transfer programs to train the next generations through succession planning programs, remote working to employ people elsewhere around the world, new policies to better appeal to underrepresented groups like women, young people, minorities, people with disabilities, and migrants, of course. Looking at the future of work, so as you can see in that chart, when we speak about humans, we speak about psychological safety. We speak about mental wellness. We speak about the need to feel that you belong, the need to feel that there is some sort of stability, and the need to feel that you are being listened to. So organizations need to make sure that they are catering to the following: to connecting with the people and the talent, to building trust, to collaborations, to innovation, to performance, to driving results, and to reflecting and learning on all the impacts that the organization is doing with their talents within. And as you can see, the greatest benefits when MIT Technology actually made this research in 2022.
Please, just 1 minute.
Sure, thank you. So what are the greatest benefits? So we have retaining workers through greater flexibility, employees having lower stress and better mental stress, access to deeper knowledge, brand advocates, lower carbon footprint through less commuting, increased diversity and inclusion, access to lower cost talent, reduced real estate overheads, and access to a wider pool of talent. And to close with the younger generations, you need to focus on the self-management, emotional intelligence. These are the employability skills of the future. It doesn't start with technical, it starts with soft skills. It starts with mindsets, the understanding to communicate, to grow networks, to grow relationships is a must. It's no longer a luxury. So communication, interpersonal skills, working with people and collaboration, and understanding that there are many options and that you don't have to grow within the same organization in a vertical manner. There are now cross-functional moves. You can move from one function or one pillar within the same department to the next, or from one department to the other, or from one region to the other. So it's no longer just a vertical kind of approach when it comes to the growth. And skipping just the slide for you to see afterwards. So this is like a framework that we've been working on with our different sectors, and understanding that the role has to integrate all four parties that I've been speaking of. So you have the public sector, you have the educational sector, the workforce sector, as well as the private sector. And these ideas under one framework that unites these sectors together will actually help us to cater to the needs and the actual reality of the future of work. Whether it is through innovation management and open innovation projects, cross-industry partnerships, integrated career guidance and coaching efforts, on-the-job training, engaging competency-based learning and development programs, streamlined onboarding programs, open source internships and knowledge sharing databases, smoother transitioning from digitization to digitalization, operational optimization across the different sectors. And again, yes, on a side note, there is a bright side. So the labor markets are struggling today and the business environments is harder to predict. But this churning, difficult period as it may be, will lead to new solutions and opportunities for growth. The realization that this is the future of work should spur us to solve today's challenges in ways
that benefit and support everyone, not just one part of the industry or one part of the formula. This will require forward-thinking workforce strategies that explore new talents and growth for all the areas involved. Thank you very much.
Compte tenu du temps, nous allons réserver les questions à la fin. Donc, on va avancer avec le dernier intervenant. Donc, nous avons vu l'Afrique avec la première intervention. Nous avons suivi l'expérience canadienne avec les SDGs. Et maintenant, nous allons atterrir dans le pays qui nous accueille, l'Égypte, en voyant les 10 emplois émergents. Et je vais inviter M. Akram Marwan à nous rejoindre sur la tribune. Pendant qu'il s'avance, je vais le présenter. Akram Marwan is founder and CEO of iCareer. He's a business development professional with 12 years of experience working in different fields and industries. He used to work for the FMCG giant and previously worked in the United Nations Development Program. Akram has an engineering background and got his master's degree in innovation and entrepreneurship as a major from the American University in Cairo. À vous la parole.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Sngur University and the library for inviting me. And I feel very humbled to talk after my professors and esteemed panelists. So I will try my best to be, to stick to the time as much as I can. So a quick background about myself. I used to work in Procter & Gamble 10 years ago. I started there as a project manager, then a production manager for Pampers Size 5. So any kid in your family I touched every day 5 years ago. Then shifted to HR. I used to work as a talent manager, a talent supply manager. Then shifted to sales, unit manager, managed the business portfolio for P&G and Carrefour, Hypersony, and Panda across Egypt. Before that, I used to work in United Nations in 2 different developmental projects. All my 12 years or 15 years of experience was mainly in either development or business development or sales. So I will start with a quick question. So anyone here believes that there's no decent opportunities in Egypt? Can anyone raise his hand who can count 50 multinational companies here in Egypt? Anyone can count? So actually, this might be a tricky question. So do you believe that there is like 50 multinational companies here in Egypt? Yes? No? Sure? Okay. So actually, in Egypt, there are more than 300 multinational companies. Just to give you a glimpse. Does anyone here know a company called Rekib bin Kizer? Rekib bin Kizer. So just one. So actually, only one raised his hand, but actually every single individual in this hall knows this company, but don't know the name of the company. Does anyone here used or know the soap bar Dettol? Do you know Dettol? Yeah. The company is the manufacturer of Dettol called Rekib bin Kizer. It's a multinational company that is existing here in Egypt, and they're hiring every year tens of new hires. But we don't know the company. And this is not your problem because, unfortunately, it's a global problem. So 15 years ago, I met a friend, and the same example or the same problem that you saw, that we don't know the multinational companies here in Egypt, I faced 15 years ago. A friend of mine just passed by and told me, Akram, there's an internship in P&G. Both words I didn't understand. Actually, I couldn't spell word internship. I told him, what's P&G? He told me, it's a very big multinational company in the FMCG industry. What are you talking about? I didn't understand what's the word multinational company and what is FMCG, fast moving consumer goods. I didn't understand the words, actually. So I went to my home with a very brilliant CV, you know, this CV that has in the skills, hard worker, quick learner. I applied, I was surprised 3 days later. An HR called me and told me, Akram, you are invited to a reasoning test. What's the reasoning test? He said, it's an IQ and math. I said, okay, IQ and math, and I'm an engineer, I will pass it. So I went to the plant was located in October 6 city. I used to live in Heliopolis, it's 90 kilometers away. It's a test for 40 questions in 65 that you need to answer in 65 minutes. When I finished, while I was driving back home, the rejection email reached my home faster than my car. So that was a life-changing moment, because I realized that there is huge opportunities and there are lots of companies that I never heard about. Does anyone hear a company called Air Liquide? Dell EMC? French company, yeah. Air Liquide, they hire massively in Alexandria, but none of us raised his hand. So my first message for you is that, believe me, according to all statistics, the number of available opportunities are much, much, much bigger than the number of qualified candidates in Egypt. So all that what you need to do is to be qualified. But another important message that we need to deliver is that you need to differentiate between the trending jobs and the in-demand jobs. Just to give you a glimpse about the difference. So the trending jobs is that a fast-growing fields that the demand is increasing year over year exponentially. To give you an example, there's a position called Growth Product Manager. In the Corona, it increased the demand on this position 425%. But I might assume that most of us didn't hear about this position before. I'll give you another example. There's a position in P&G called Supply Network Operation Associate Manager. Position from 5 words. The first 4 words we didn't understand, and the last word is manager. Who will apply? This is the same when I was surprised with this position. I will give you a surprise. This position, how many years of experience? 0. What's the GPA? None. In which company? P&G, one of the top employers in the globe. So you'll be surprised that there are lots of opportunities and lots of positions that we are not aware in the market, and they are trending and growing. So you need to know about these trending jobs, and in a few I will tell you the most 7 or 8 trending jobs here in Egypt. But you need also to be aware of the in-demand careers here in Egypt. When we are saying in-demand careers, that means that these opportunities, the number of jobs available for these opportunities in Egypt are much more than the candidates. So either or, you need to choose, either you need to be aware of the in-demand careers, so these opportunities. If you now start to apply, you'll find an easy, decent job offer. Or you can take a proactive move and start being aware and learn about the trending careers, because in few years, those careers will be top demand. So you need to be more competitive from now and learn about these careers, so you will to be able to be qualified for these careers in few months or few years. Quickly, in Egypt and globally, there are 2 main fields on top demand. Never, ever, and there is no single career that are near competitive for these careers. Number 1 is the web developers, and number 2 is account managers, sales and web development. In Egypt, we have the biggest recruitment platform called Wazaf. 1 month ago, there is like around 9,000 available vacancies, around 2,900 vacancies in software and web development, 2,800 are in sales. So we're talking about around 60 to 70% of the available opportunities in Egypt are in web development or in sales. So either if you not a social person, you love to solve complex problems, you like to deal with computer, go and learn web development. And if you are a social person who love to communicate with others, you have this emotional intelligence, and you want to deal every day with client relations, please go ahead and apply for sales. Those are the most in-demand jobs in Egypt and globally. No single opportunity compete with them. But now there are 5 more trending careers that are on hype. The first one is product manager. As I mentioned to you, product manager has increased the demand in the Corona 425%. Who is the product manager? Is basically the CEO of any product. In your mobile apps, in your mobile, any mobile app that you have, there is a product manager or a couple of product team members who designed the product and who set the features, the priorities of the features that he saw in the mobile app. So if you are interested to create new products and to introduce it to the market, go ahead and learn product management. The other opportunity is UI UX designer. Did you hear this before? If you have this creative mindset and you want, or creative mentality, and you want to create new designs and create new products, and you want to, and you have the ability to understand and research for consumer behaviors and understand the consumer behaviors and accordingly design an interesting user experience for the products, go ahead and learn this job field. Business analysts. Business analysts are those who implement or support business information systems, and they identify problems and see opportunities from data. So if you are interested to dig into details and you have the ability to analyze data and you want to produce useful information to decision makers, go ahead and learn business analysis. Last two positions are customer success. It's totally different than customer service. So customer service is a more reactive position. You just wait until your customer is complaining and then you answer the phone for them. Customer success is more proactive. So you want to make sure that the customer is well onboarded on your platform and he knows how to successfully use the product, and this will enable your company to sell more or cross-sell for other customers. Last but not least is operations. Supply chain is one of the biggest industries or the biggest fields now in most of the companies. So we have saw the rise of the startup scene in Egypt, and currently there are huge opportunities in operations in startups. Not only the normal demand planning or planning roles in the FMCG companies or the manufacturing plants, but also in the startups. You can see now Talabat, Marsool, lots of mobile apps that you are using. They need huge operation team. So these are one of the very interesting in-demand or trending careers. I want to stick to the time, so I will give you a last story and a final message. So I believe, and this is not just a human development quote, success is a journey, not a destination. I'll just give you a story. 15 years ago, when my friend told me about P&G and I went and I got rejected for the reasoning test, I understood more about Procter & Gamble. I admire this company. So I went, I stayed for another year, and I applied. I got prepared for this reasoning test, and I applied. I passed the reasoning test. They called me, okay, you can come and you should do a first interview. If you passed it, you should go to 3 comprehensive interviews. If you passed it, you will die. But anyway. But if you pass it, you will go to the final interview. And only if those 4 interviews has like a consent or a line that you are a good candidate, you go to the final interview. So I went the second year, I applied. I went to the reasoning test, I passed it. I went to the first interview, I passed it. I went to the second, third, fourth, I got rejected. But I learned that you need to be persistent. So I applied for the third year. I went to the reasoning test, I passed it. I went to the first interview, I passed it. I went to the second, third, fourth, rejected. A very interesting story. But I never quit. I said to myself, okay, I will wait for 2 years. I will work on myself, I'll work on what they want for me to be qualified. I waited for 2 years and applied again. I passed the reasoning test. I went to the first interview. I finished it. I was waiting in the waiting room, waiting for the second interview. And the HR came to me and said, okay, Akram, we just finished today. Finished. My stage is only final. I used to fail in the final stage. No, you didn't fail. We'll call you. I go home. I called me after 2 days. They said, okay, Akram, come to complete the comprehensive interviews. I came. I finished the second interview, third interview. I went to the final. I passed the final. It's a quick applause. they froze the job opportunity. What's that? Okay, so I waited for 3 months, and I saw on LinkedIn, people are saying, congratulations, they joined P&G. Where am I? So I just called the HR and told me, you know what? The position that you were hired on, we closed it. But there is another position, but unfortunately need to do another final interview. With who? Vite Quittel is the first one who rejected me 5 years ago. Said, okay, no problem. I used to prepare myself for 2 years in a notebook called we say the Curaçao Jumbo. It's a jumbo notebook. And I wrote all the expected questions and answers, so I was very well prepared. I went to the final interview. Every single question I've been asked, I had a good answer. I passed the final interview. I got the job offer, and they told me, okay, Akram, you need just to do a medical test, which is normal. Can I have 2 minutes again?
Reload.
Yeah, please. So in this, they told me the medical test, so I went to the medical center in the plant, and there's like a small kiosk. You put headset, and when you hear any voice, you just click. So I waited. When I went out of this room, the doctors there was staring in the laptop. She said, Akram, you know what? I'm really sorry, we cannot complete your job offer. Why? She said, unfortunately, you have partial deafness. I said, what? No, I can hear you well. No. She said, no, it's a partial deafness. You cannot only hear some noise levels. Okay, some noise levels, no, who cares? She said, unfortunately, I can't do anything. So that was on the 17th of November, 2012. I went to my home. It was the very depressing day in my life. But at that time, if you met me at that time, I used to work in the United Nations with a very, very good salary. I was married. I had a nice car. I did my master's with a full scholarship in the American University in Cairo, one of the top universities here in Cairo. And every single step in this career, I passed because of the preparation I did to P&G. So if you met me in the 17th of November, I assume you will consider me as a relatively successful person. But I didn't succeed to go to P&G, which was my dream. But one day later, a stranger number called me. I canceled, called me twice. I answered. Okay, hello. I'm Dr. Flaney, a guy. I'm the manager of the Dr. Wala who met you yesterday, and I have a very important information for you. He was very serious. I was afraid, okay, the problem of my partial deafness will kill me. But he said, no, I'm just saying to you that your case is not that severe. I saw your reports, and I want to tell you congratulations, welcome aboard. So that day, I just want to give you this message. That day, I remember this message. Success is a journey. If you have the passion and the persistency, you will reach your goal. You just need to be aware where are your steps in your career development phase, whether you still want to choose your career, or you chose your career and want to be prepared, or you are prepared and just need to twist your applications and how you apply. Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure being with you.
Voilà, nous allons prendre des questions. Nous avons 5 minutes aux deux intervenants pour les questions. Ou peut-être qu'il n'y en a plus parce que nous avons été tellement captivés par l'histoire. Ça, c'est Journey.
Je ne parle pas le français, so I assume that this was a good statement.
Okay. Il y a une main.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your thought. It was very inspiring and very consistent.
Thank you.
I want to ask for the previous presentation. what about workforce.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Kayumba. I'm come from Rwanda, and I'm a student in Sengor University. My question is that you talk about workforce, but I have some issue or challenge nowadays. We have workforces, but also you have artificial intelligence. That artificial intelligence might replace people in a few years, as the previous presentation talked about that. So for me, I want to ask you, what do you think about the future young generation in Africa, especially in Africa, that we don't have some accompaniment or some skills or some tools to go forward for that artificial intelligence that might be reduce our chance to work because the artificial intelligence will replace what you have to do. So what about wanted to raise or to increase workforces, but also there is artificial intelligence at the other side. How to balance between both them. Thank you.
Une autre question, s'il y en a. Là, ça sera la dernière. OK. Bon, on va donner la chance à celui qui n'a pas encore posé la question. S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît. Madame, il y a une main de l'autre côté, là.
Jaune, là.
Thank you so much. My name is Benjamin Mohamed Kassim. I come from Comoros, and I study in University Sengor. Ma question s'adresse au dernier intervenant. Voilà, on était vraiment captivés par votre histoire. Ma question, je veux savoir quand est-ce qu'on doit se dire que on doit opter pour un autre objectif. Parce que là, vous avez insisté jusqu'à ce que parfois on ne perd pas le temps à ne pas s'accrocher à un autre objectif.
So the first question for you and the last for Akram.
Okay. So thank you very much for asking that question. Again, it's to be direct, it's an open question. So the answers can be many and can be various. When it comes to what you need to do from the workforce who are applying for jobs, you need to understand that with the artificial intelligence and with jobs that are dwindling in certain areas, that does not mean that it will impact the joblessness or the unemployability for the sector, because there will be new jobs that will emerge to cater to the new technologies and artificial intelligence integrated jobs that are springing from that area. So what we need to do from a workforce perspective is work on your digital skills. So the more you are digitally savvy, as they say, or tech savvy, so understanding digital collaboration tools, understanding more about AI and programming, even from a general perspective, not just from a specialized perspective, but being open to learn outside your actual domain, or even learn about the new advances in the current domain if there is a possibility. So just be open to learn and develop yourself ongoing, and make sure that you are as digitally savvy as possible.
I just need if you allow me to add a small comment. As Professor Hani mentioned, don't think about big data, think about good data. Yeah? Don't think about AI. If you can see, 7 of these most trending jobs, they are built on technology. They are not built on AI, but you need, as Dr. Hisham as well mentioned, this kind of T employee, or Dr. Hani as well. So think of how you embed the technology in your career. You will find amazing opportunities. As for the question, so actually, Harvard Business Review reported that 73% of the global population works in something that is irrelevant to their academic background. which means that you need to start from now questioning yourself if you, as I mentioned, you need to know in which stage in your career development you are. Did you decide the right career for you or not? And deciding the right career has lots of elements. One of them is you need to check off the demand and supply of the positions, because if you chose a position that has not a sufficient availability of opportunities, you need to be aware that this will be very, very competitive. Very competitive. If you decide to do so, you need to be aware that the second stage, which is prepare and the qualification, will be much tough. But another element is that you need to understand your career values. So when you choose a company or you choose a field, you need also to consider your own personality and your own career values, your own interests. Do you consider work-life balance as a major value for you or not? Do you consider the money or the salary is a major value for you or not? Do you consider the learning and progression? So Nodel has like 52 different career values, and you need to, it's a well-known assessment. You can go and take this assessment, and according to understanding yourself and understanding the market, there is always what we call the career diamond model. It's a theory for the career decision. You need to be aware of yourself and aware of the market. So according to your awareness about yourself and what's your needs and interests and your values, and according to the job opportunities that you see, you can start to do the matching. So I encourage you to start first with choose. It's always 3 steps: choose, prepare, apply. A wrong step is that you start applying for an opportunity before you make sure that you finish the first 2 steps, which is choose first and then prepare and then apply. I hope I answered your question.
Monsieur l'ambassadeur, monsieur le recteur de l'université Sengor, madame la chef du secteur de bibliothèque, chers collègues, chères étudiantes et étudiants, distingués invités, nous sommes arrivés à la fin de notre première session de ce forum international, session qui a porté sur les thèmes mutation socio-économique et remodélage du marché du travail. Et en votre nom, je vais remercier nos éminents intervenants, Didier Akwete, Heini Mustafa, Hicham Abdelghafar, Marwan Habdin et Akram Marwan. We are at the end of our first session on socio-economic change and the reshaping of labor market. On your behalf, I would like to express my gratitude to our distinguished speakers, Didier Akwete, Heini Mustafa, Hicham Abdelghafar, Makram Ikram and Maran Abdin. Thank you very much. Et n'oubliez pas, la prochaine session porte sur la réduction de la fracture entre l'université et le monde de l'emploi, des actions nationales et internationales percutantes. Je pense que l'organisation nous indiquera quand est-ce que cette deuxième session va démarrer. À vous toutes et à vous tous, je vous remercie de votre participation.